A person once described Esilence as a man who stood in the sea with only his crown to show. But he is not alone. He stands shoulder to shoulder with tens of thousands of others, yet these others all remain submerged. They are unseen to the man, and, for his sanity, unknown. But he feels them nearby. He rubs shoulders with them when they move, and feels the water rush against his skin when they breathe. But will he venture to open his eyes and see them, or reach out a hand and touch them, to make known what stands in the dark surrounding him? It is inevitable. Hello my beautiful watchers. My rather depressing experience with the Eye of Argon got me thinking about the kind of people who have the guts and determination to put themselves and their written work out there and what they go through, so I've decided to start including the occasional episode on my channel focusing on spotlighting self-published novels that I think deserve a chance to reach a wider audience. The subject of this first episode, Esilence, was written by Sapho Economides, a first-time author who, like all the coolest people, hails from Great Britain. Full disclosure, this is an old drinking buddy of mine from university. I wanted to start this little exposure quest with someone I knew for sure deserved it, but don't worry, I did check to make sure she was okay with an honest review before I started, so it probably won't destroy our friendship. Esilence is a pseudo-medieval fantasy story set in a unique world of the author's creation. It's a tale of quests, curses, nations on the brink of war, conspiracies, different kinds of magic, and above all, dedication to one's family and loved ones. As usual, when I'm trying to encourage book sales, I'm not going to give you a full synopsis, but here's the opening setup. A young lady by the name of Felitra lives on a farm with her parents, 5 brothers, and little sister. The youngest of her brothers falls very, very sick to the point where the family thinks they might lose him, so she and another bro called embark on a quest to collect water from a magic river. This river is actually really interesting. It's magic, but not in a fun way, more like in a you really don't want to mess with this thing unless you absolutely have to way. Your motivations for drinking from it are key. If you are completely noble and selfless, the water works as a cure-all for illnesses and injuries. However, if in any sense the water is wasted, apparently you get a nasty curse put on you that has some pretty terrible side effects. Apparently the water also feels unnaturally heavy, which is a really nice touch. It's small stuff like that really make fantasy stories for me. They succeed in getting the water back and curing their little brother, but of course they both fell in the river. When Italica appears to suffer the terrible early effects of the curse, Felitra immediately sets out to find a cure for them both. Eventually she teams up with Nil, a handsome, helpful young man with an adorable critter companion and a dark secret past that he can never share with anyone, and they work their way across half the world looking for a way to undo the curse and getting into all kinds of deadly shenanigans along the way. One of the strongest aspects of this book is the world building. Even if you don't avail yourself of the handy maps that are included, by the end of the story you'll likely have a reasonable idea of the geography, different traditions, and histories of the several kingdoms involved. It's also satisfyingly full of other cool little features like the cursed heavy water. For one thing, there's a lot of wildlife out there that is as unique and interesting as it is nasty and wanting to kill you in a variety of creative ways. The structure of the book is also pretty unique, at least to my personal experiences with novels. Felitra is undeniably the main character, as the majority of the book is told from her perspective. The first third or so almost exclusively revolves around her, with only very occasional cutaways to other stuff here and there. However, during this time, before she forms a group with Nil, she temporarily teams up with 2 other guys. First, a stable boy named Emmett, and then, almost immediately afterwards, her long-lost brother, Lampier. Both men would like to go with her on her quest, but can't because they get caught up in dealing with their own shit. Emmett discovers a secret breeding cave for nightmarish monsters under the village he lives in that's probably being cultivated to serve as the opening salvo in a war his nation's unpleasant neighbor intends to start with them very soon, and feels he should, probably try to do something about this. And Lampier is already on a mission to find and rescue his one true love who disappeared in mysterious circumstances, probably kidnapped by evildoers. And both men end up forming their own groups with people they meet along the way, and as the book progresses, more and more of each chapter is dedicated to their stories until they share equal word counts with Felitra by the end. This asymmetrical distribution of point of view characters reflects the escalating nature of the stakes in the book. It starts off as a very personal story of a girl trying to help her family, but as she travels, the full extent of the danger to the whole nation, maybe even the whole world, becomes known, and the cast expands accordingly. It's bloody clever. Along with the 3 main groups, the villains, Felitra's mother and brothers back home, and her surprisingly badass father who's on his own mission to find her, also all get small excerpts here and there, which does crowd things a little bit towards the end, but it's not too distracting. This is really neither here nor there, but it did amuse me that Felitra was ridiculously bad at holding onto her hauler, which is this world's beasts of burden and primary transportation. Have I been saying Felitra or Feletra all the way through this? You know, I'm probably just gonna keep going back and forth all the time. You know, I'm bad at pronouncing real names, so made up ones, yeah, forget about it. Anyway, she goes through like 5 or 6 mounts throughout the book, sometimes losing them or getting them killed the same chapter that she gets a new one. After a while I was like, girl, just walk. Please. Fletcher is a girl in a family of mostly boys who yearns to overcome the expectations of her gender and prove that she is just as capable as those around her, which may sound very familiar, but there's actually refreshingly little pushback from her family about wanting to learn to fight. Her father seems to have denied her requests thus far, but not long into the book, her mother basically says, oh, just fucking teach her, she's bad at housework anyway, which is a pretty easy resolution to the patriarchy. People's intentions and motivations appear to be a recurring theme in the book. Your reason for visiting the magic river makes all the difference between if it's a blessing or a curse to you, and there's a race of monsters that play a big part in the story that hunt through sensing human desires. Okay, well, to keep my reputation as a fair critic, I now have to move on to the parts where I think it might have fallen short or could be improved on. First and foremost, this cover. This cover is a marketing catastrophe. It's black and white, mostly black, and the symbol on it, while cool, doesn't mean anything to anyone who hasn't read the book yet. Cover art 101 is you need something eye-catching to get people interested in picking it up. As it is, this would be virtually invisible in a bookstore, physical or online. The reason the phrase "you can't judge a book by its cover" exists is because people 100% judge books by their covers, and this gives me nothing. I can't even necessarily tell what genre it is from it. It might be about weird compasses or a picture book about Celtic tattoo designs. I like minimal art, but it's the last thing you want to have on a book. This would make an entire marketing department cry. Sorry to keep harking on about it, it's just something that I can personally attest to because it is exactly the same with YouTube thumbnails. The best video ever created on the internet would underperform if it had a minimal thumbnail, which is frustrating, but just an inescapable part of the business. Speaking of marketing, I couldn't help but notice that there is no Twitter presence for Sapho or Esilence, just a Facebook page, and I have super mixed feelings about that. On one hand, it hurts me to see her passing up on so much potential free exposure for her book, but on the other hand, Twitter is an addictive hellscape of rage, stress, and suffering, and if she's managed to avoid joining it until now, it would be such a dick move for me to try to talk her into jumping into this emotional dumpster fire now. Another thing y'all should be ready for is this book is the first in an intended trilogy, or at least I assume it's a trilogy, it could be any number of books, but the point is there will be things that are set up here that have no payoff yet. I personally spent the entire book wondering about the geosynchronous black hole in the sky. I think that's something people should have been a bit more worried about, but everyone in this world was like, oh yeah, that's always been there. Mysterious black third suns, am I right? Another thing I noticed, and I'm somewhat hesitant to even mention this because it's not really something that can be addressed if Sapho continues to self-publish, but I think this book could really have benefited from a professional editor. It's about 430 pages, and I think it could probably have been compressed down to a really solid 330. This is of course a subjective opinion based on my reading preferences, and it is also something that Sapho will probably be able to refine herself in the sequels with the writing experience she's built up with this first book. The last thing is super petty, and it's not even a general complaint, it's just this one thing that happened in the book that frustrated me. In the middle of the night, the village that Fletcher is staying in flies into a panic and flees to the hills in a huge mob, dragging her along with them. On the way, she bumps into Lampia and they leave together. Now admittedly, Fletcher is super tired and under a lot of pressure here, but it still drove me mad that it was 14 frustrating pages and a full day and a half of in-universe time before she gets around to asking her brother why the town was evacuating. That just seems so unnatural that they talked about so much else before she was like, oh, BT dubs, that whole midnight panic mob thing, well, what was that about? It just took me out of the story briefly. Okay, that's the negatives done. Please don't hate me, Sapho. There are a lot of short explanations about what fictional words mean near the start of the story, and while they're not always seamlessly integrated, breaking up the flow of the story just a little, I much prefer that to just throwing them in with no context. That's actually the first red flag I always look for in badly written fantasy, getting saying gibberish mixed up with being creative and otherworldly. The Carraro strolled through the streets of Bunalung, followed by his salivating pack of Hanoganog, admiring the surrounding Tupla, and the Sholo just watched. With all their nipples. Either give me some context to work with, or give me some fucking explanations, damn it! I am sorry that was a weirdly intense rant about something that's not even in this book. Esilence successfully incorporates fantasy, action, combat, and themes of suspense and horror, so I think a wide range of people would get something out of it. If you would like to read it for yourself, and you're watching this video soon after it's posted, you should head over to the addictive hellscape of rage, stress, and suffering known as Twitter, because I'm going to be doing a giveaway of 4 copies. You just have to retweet it and express your interest in the replies. I'll also put links to all the different places you can buy it in the video description below. Thank you for joining me, my beautiful watchers. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget that the sinister presence of the YouTube algorithm lies in wait for any channels that fail to pay tribute to it in the form of many likes and comments, and if you're new here and would like to stay abreast of future content, that is what the handy subscribe button is for. I hope you have a most pleasant day, and I will see you soon. Ah, shit. Much love and appreciation to my patrons of honor, Shelby Holtz and Sam Cucinotta. Hello again, my beautiful watchers. I just wanted to take this opportunity to give you a quick reminder that there's a wonderful website called Patreon that's been allowing online producers to actually make a living doing what they do, since apparently YouTube's decided that they shouldn't anymore. Basically, they offer the chance to pledge a certain amount of money per month or per video in exchange for various rewards offered by the creator. There's a variety of stuff you can earn by becoming one of my patrons, including early access to all videos and taking part in that survey you see at the start of every Lost in Adaptation episode. That's actually a very important part of the process, as I use it to gauge how much I'm going to need to explain about the book and the film before I start comparing them. If you decide to become a higher level contributor, your name will be added to the credits that you're seeing right now, and you'll be given the option to join my private chat room so you can regularly talk with me and other patrons. If you're keen enough to join the topmost tier of patronage, you'll earn the most coveted of all the rewards, the chance to pick a future adaptation to be reviewed by yours truly. However, if right now you are thinking, my goodness the Dom, I can't do that, for I have no money left after building a personal fortress to prepare for the coming zombie apocalypse. Do you have any idea how expensive a lifetime supply of food, water, and ammunition is? Fear not, it would still be a huge help to me if you were to give that like button the old clickaroo, share this episode on social media with perhaps a little recommendation to your friends to check it out, and subscribe if you've not already. It really helps my channel grow and reach new beautiful watchers. I hope you have a most pleasant day, and I will see you in the next episode. I wonder if it's too late for me to call Sapho and ask her how you pronounce the book title. What time is it in the UK?
The time in United Kingdom is 10:46 p.m.
She might be awake. Taking a selfie. I wanted to start this little exposure quest. There's a cat attacking my foot. So, come on, I'm stressing out here. All my old friends are going to see this. I need them to think I'm doing really well. Esilence is a pseudo... Sorry, I inhaled some water just before I started filming and really inopportunely timed. Zoinks! She and another bro called... Oh boy, okay. Atalika? Eventually, she teams up with Nil, a helpful. I clearly make great life decisions in my career path. This would be virtually as is. I'm holding it upside down. One thing, this is two. These are 2 fingers I'm holding up here. I can't do even basic math. A long lost brother, Lampy. Lampier. Lampier? Lampier. He's a lamp. Lampier. I didn't get much sleep last night.